The following program on KCAA is pre-recorded.
Hello and welcome to Building Solid Foundations. This is your host, Steve Matley. We are on KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM all over Southern California. Or you can catch us on streaming on Roku. You can catch us on Amazon Fire. You can catch us on your Android app on the Building Solid Foundations channel. Or you can always catch us on your favorite podcast platform. We're on over 15 of them, so check that out through KCAA. Today in the studio, I am talking with Barry Bevier. He is originally from Michigan, raised on a small family farm where he learned all the good basics of hard work, honesty, ethical standards, that good Midwestern character building that you get out there when you have to trudge through 20 feet of snow every winter. He earned a master's degree in civil engineering from the University of Michigan, so he is a Wolverine, and embarked on his career and took him from Michigan overseas to Pakistan and then eventually to Southern California, where he's been for about 40 years. Barry, welcome to Building Solid Foundations.
Thank you, Steve.
It's great to have you here. So I come out of a built environment industry myself. I was a construction manager, general contractor, and then developer. So civil engineers, obviously, as a developer, that's our main design consultant for everything we do. Because as a developer, our main job is to first and foremost figure out how to get water to where it's supposed to go and not go where it's not supposed to go, which is essentially a civil engineer's job, right?
Exactly.
Right. So how did you go from on the farm to deciding you wanted to be a civil engineer?
Well, I was very interested in math and science and did well in high school, and had the desire to go to college, and was accepted at University of Michigan. I chose Michigan because I played trumpet and I was accepted in the marching band.
And a Big Ten marching band's a big deal.
It was. It's more of a big deal now than it was then, but yeah, it was a big deal. Yeah. So I went to school there, enrolled in engineering, and then decided, okay, well, what branch of engineering? I've always been interested in cars, and my family has a fairly deep history in Ford Motor Company. And so started out thinking automotive engineering, but the economy wasn't so hot. And just through taking classes and transitioning, set in on civil engineering. Okay. And I actually specialized in geotechnical, and in that focused on vibrations for vibrating machine foundations. So it's that specialty that kind of took me around the world.
Okay, so you left school in Michigan and you went to Pakistan. Was that your first job out of college?
It was. It was. One of my professors was doing some consulting for a large New York consulting firm that had designed Tarbela Dam in Pakistan, which at the time was the largest dam in the world being built. Okay. And there were some vibration issues in the dam when they first started operating, and he needed someone to help him do some measurements for the summer. So I hadn't gotten the job yet. This was 1975. Right. And so he said, if you would be interested in going over and working with me for the summer over there, that's great. So I took that, and everything worked out, and I ended up being over there for 2 years.
Okay, and it's interesting coming straight from small town Midwest to going to a completely different part of the world with a different culture and different language, different way of doing everything.
Exactly, it was culture shock. We did have good living conditions. The construction site at one time was built and housed over 12,000 people. Okay. And so there was a village, there was a lot of European and Americans and people from all over the world. So it was a real
the really large civil works projects, people don't understand that the first thing you build is a company town. You build residences and stores and entertainment, everything you need, roads and schools.
Housing, yeah.
Yeah, you build a city be first, and then you can build the project.
Right.
Right. And so, but I teach construction management at a college, and one thing we talk about with the students is, unlike a lot of other industries where you may be reliant on geographical limitations, you need to have a port, you need to have a rail spur, you need to have a highway nearby, you need to have power, you need whatever. Construction's unique in that it doesn't matter what's there. If it's not there, you build it. You provide your own. You build a road, you build a bridge, you bring in the utilities, you build towns, you build houses, you build schools, you build whatever you need in order to facilitate whatever it is you need to do.
Exactly. And for this particular project, it was a global joint venture with major contractors joining together, and they actually built a railroad to the site so they could haul in equipment.
Right, and so people talk about, okay, there was a project where you built a dam. Well, actually, there was a project where before we built the dam, we built a railroad, we built a highway, we built a freight depot. We built. You start adding everything up, right? I built a hotel, then eventually built houses, and eventually you built a store. You built schools. You built all these kind of things, and I think a lot of people don't understand how complicated those very large projects are. And a lot of the big civil projects are built in places where you're not near a populated center. You don't have, people don't just commute to the job site every day and go to work. Hoover Dam, when it was built, out in the middle of the Nevada desert, Las Vegas was not a thing back then. It was a little tiny oasis town, nothing there. So in order to get the number of people, the equipment, everything you need, you literally have to build a city to house them, a temporary city to house them.
Right, and that's exactly what that was. There was a small village just outside of our security gate, and but everything was built. We were about, I think, 75 miles from Islamabad, Rawalpindi, which is the capital of Pakistan.
Right. And now was that a hydroelectric dam, or was that a dam for to create a reservoir? What was the purpose of that?
Both.
Okay.
So it was, the reservoir went upstream about 50 miles. It was huge. The dam, as I recall, is about 400 feet high.
Okay.
And there were power plants at the base that would provide Pakistan with electricity and irrigation water.
Okay. Still there and operating, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Probably, hopefully, doing better than Three Gorges is right now. That's been a little under stress lately. Well, yeah. So okay, and that's an interesting background. And then from there, you came to Southern California.
Via 2 years in Columbus, Ohio, with the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, so back to the Midwest,
Yeah.
but just south of Michigan.
Yep.
And Department of Agriculture, which goes back to your farming background.
Exactly, and I was doing some soil drainage research, so it's still involved kind of in the civil engineering realm, but a little bit different twist.
Right. So uniquely qualified, having a farm background and the civil engineering, and able to understand not just the engineering but the application thereof. Right.
And it was a good fit. It was just something that I decided rather do other more exciting, larger projects after being on that one in Pakistan.
Right. And how did they accept a Michigan Wolverine in Columbus, Ohio?
I was careful.
Didn't wear the school colors a lot?
No, I got my Ohio plates on my car as soon as I could.
Yeah, so for a lot of people outside the Midwest, they don't understand how fierce that rivalry really is. Yeah.
It's a fierce rivalry, and actually I saw something on Facebook today where Ohio State was voted as the worst sports fan base of
all the colleges?
Universities. Yep.
So they're the Oakland Raiders of the college world. Is that what they are?
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Although the Raiders are now not the Oakland Raiders. They're Vegas, and maybe they're nicer now. I don't know, but they always had that reputation of being a very very rough fan base. Yeah.
Yep.
Don't cross them. So. Okay, so you ended up in Southern California eventually, and you were still doing civil engineering when you came here, I assume.
Right. I was offered a job with a company up in Orange County, and doing the geotechnical engineering, design, helping design foundations for buildings.
Okay, and of course, Southern California has been on a pretty aggressive building boom since the end of World War II. Really, I mean, there's been some downturns in the market, but honestly, it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. So there's always work in Southern California to build things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And as much as Orange County would never admit that they have any relation to Los Angeles, it's an extension of it to some degree, and as is the inland and most of Southern California. And just because of the scope of how large the city is and how much the growth has been, Southern California has been in a constant growth spurt for decades. It just doesn't stop. And so I worked in the building industry for decades as well.
Right.
And even in the so-called recessions, there was never a shortage of construction projects to do. So, all right. And you ended up eventually in San Diego County, obviously, as we live now, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's a pretty, I guess, roundabout way to get to Southern California from the Midwest.
It is. It works. And it was just, opportunity poses itself, and took advantage of it.
All right. And again, for me, I've always had a fascination with the built environment. Even today, I go to construction sites. I live towards downtown San Diego. There's always buildings going up there too as well. And even at my age, I still like the little kid, staring through that construction fence, watching what's going on in utter fascination. And I've been on so many construction sites and I've managed major projects. And even at that, I'm still fascinated like it's the first time I saw it, watching the equipment, watching the materials put in place, watching all the workers. I find it just, absolutely fascinating. And I also find equally fascinating all the pre-construction stuff, all that, the civil, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the structural, all that goes into it. That I find that to be a fascinating process to get from somebody's idea to something that can be implemented.
Yes, and I was always associated with the design side.
Right.
So we were out in construction sites, when there was some inspections going on. But it just boggles my mind how contractors can put all this stuff together and make things happen. I did a lot of transportation work here in San Diego, and the complexity of these bridges.
Oh, phenomenal!
And how the contractors put it all together and make it happen. And Scripps Health was one of my clients for 7 or 8 years. And so we're designing what you don't see down below, but we had contact with the architects and all the interior details that are associated with hospitals in it.
It's a beautiful thing to watch. Yeah, we got to take a break. We're going to come back right after this, and we're going to talk about the next chapter in Barry's life and what he's doing now. This is Building Solid Foundations with Steve Matley. We're talking to Barry Bevier. We'll be right back after this short break.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections. Hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 95137853316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Most mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, Don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We're talking to Barry Bevier. He is a former civil engineer. We were talking in the first segment about his background. One thing when we left off, Barry was explaining how great it is to watch the process of construction. And one of the greatest things for me to watch is one of those all-day, like 16-hour-long concrete pours. It is like watching a ballet with the string of trucks. And, with the concrete, that stuff gets, 90 minutes old. You can't use it anymore. So it's got to come from the batch plant, get to the site, get in its line, dump its load, get cleaned out, get back out of there. But they can't ever have a point where there's no concrete being dumped. They can only have room for a certain number of trucks. And all this has been figured out along with drive times and how many times they have to stop and traffic on the freeway and everything. And to watch this all day long just work flawlessly as they do, they'll pour an entire city block in a day, put the foundations in. And I've always thought that is just one of the most beautiful things to watch in the world. To me, it's like watching a ballet. It's just phenomenal.
Right. I owned my own company I was partner for about 20 years, and then I went to work for a company called Kleinfelder here in San Diego.
Oh, Kleinfelder, yes.
And they did a lot of downtown work with the high-rise structures.
Right.
And those buildings are founded on mat foundations, which
right.
are,
a city block large.
A city block large, who knows how many feet thick, and it's one continuous pour. And to see that happen is just amazing. Yeah.
It's just, and in an urban traffic constraints, and they still get all this work done. Yeah, right. It's beautiful.
Right.
So for civil engineering, you had a life crisis event that led you into an entirely different avenue where you ended up more in the health and wellness field. So talk to us a little bit about that transition and what happened there.
Okay. So in the late 90s, I met a wonderful woman. Her name was Linda. And 2 years later, we got married. And 2 little girls. Beautiful. They're adults now. I'm very proud of them. One's an architect, one's a psychologist, excuse me. But she had lupus.
Okay.
And so I was not familiar with the disease. Did a little bit of research, and she'd been treated for, at the time, over 10 years with pharmaceuticals. They kind of helped with the symptoms, but really did nothing to heal her. And I grew up in a healthy family. I don't remember my grandparents being on any medications, nor my parents. And I haven't been either.
Now, is that because they were eating everything off of the farm and working hard every day?
That's probably part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. We didn't buy a lot of processed foods from the grocery stores, and so I think that's part of it, and not being sedentary is part of it.
And farm's hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we learned a lot about autoimmune diseases. And a couple years after we were married, I had the desire to spend more time with the family, and owning my own company was a little bit too much. So I sold my interest in my company. That's when I joined Kleinfelder, and did pretty much the same thing, but it was a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. And so Linda's health was okay for a few years, not optimum, but she was getting by. We had to be very cautious not to bring diseases into the house, because that was her immune system was compromised.
Right.
And she was doing okay. You would never know that she had this illness and was taking 6, 8, 10 meds a day. Fast forward to the late 2009, her health started to deteriorate. She had a little stubborn streak and decided if she went to the doctor, he was going to give her more pharmaceuticals, which she knew she didn't want to have.
Right.
And so her disease progressed to the point where she had advanced liver disease, impaired kidney functions. There was some other stuff going on in her body. And in April of 2010, we finally got her to the doctor, and they diagnosed what it was and put her in the hospital. In the meantime, the company I was with was making some corporate changes, kind of changing their business model a little bit, and the division that I was working in was downsized, and about 30 of us across the nation with 20, 30 years of experience doing high-level marketing and project management were let go.
Okay. Well, you clear out the high end of the payroll.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Right.
We weren't having billable hours.
Right.
So that actually, it was a shock. It was actually a blessing because I'm very motivated. I'll take on whatever task is given me. And had I stayed working, I would have, continued to work 50, 60 hours a week, attempt to take care of my wife and the family, because after she was in and out of the hospital several times, but when she was home, she was pretty much bedridden, or she was in the hospital the last few months of her life. So it was a good thing that I didn't have that job responsibility. And fortunately, we had enough money to live off of for a while. Okay. Without going into any of the medical details, she passed away in June of 2010 of a brain hemorrhage, of all things. Okay. So it's just her body was so messed up. And even the doctors that were treating her said, some of this is from the meds. Now, since then, in my study of, wellness and good health, I realized that there were some lifestyle habits that we had that weren't really conducive to her health condition. Eating, we enjoyed some wine every night. Well, pharmaceuticals affect your liver, right. So does wine, right. So does alcohol. So there were some things that we could have changed that may have helped her. But
no one tells you don't know.
Exactly, exactly. And so after she passed away, one daughter was 15, the other was 17, just graduated from high school. I did some engineering consulting for a couple years. I went back to work for a year with 2 different companies and decided that, I'm too much of an entrepreneur to be employable.
I understand that.
And yet I wasn't ready to retire, either mentally or financially. And so I started looking at other businesses. What can I do?
Okay.
And it was, maybe not isn't the best word, but it was just in my blood to learn more about wellness for my own health as I get older, but also to help other people avoid what happened to our family. Because as I look back, I think with what I know now, there's a lot that we could have done that may have improved her situation.
Okay. Yeah, and so when you went to the health and wellness, and you kind of said you focused on helping educate other people and understand more natural resources, more of I guess a homeopathic, I guess.
That's a good term for it. Yeah. So I'm not particularly in homeopathy,
right?
But more the natural wellness. So I enrolled in a lot of courses online about cancer and diet and there's a program that I got into about hemp and CBD products.
Food is the first medicine that we take, that we eat, right? Everything in there's the building blocks of every cell comes from whatever we ingest, whether that's good or bad.
Exactly. And was it Socrates said food is our medicine and medicine is our food?
That's right. That's right. And even we have a lot of synthetic medications now, but traditional medicines all came out of herbs, vegetables, fruits, different natural products that adjusted the body chemistry in some way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that method of medicine was kind of went away 100 years ago when the industrialists got involved with pharmaceuticals.
That's right. Yeah. The apothecary shop disappeared.
Exactly.
And the drug companies arrived, and not all of that was bad. Obviously, there's childhood diseases that have been mostly eradicated because of some of those things. So it's not all bad, but at the same time, it's one of those things we have the new thing and we forgot the old thing, and the old thing wasn't bad. The old thing had a lot of use.
Right.
Right.
And modern medicine certainly is necessary, and pharmaceuticals in the short term, I think, are great. But it's when you have a chronic disease and you're on medications for years and years and years that it can be very harmful to you.
Well, and it harms any kind of medication we're taking on a consistent basis will affect the organs, the liver and the kidney and those kind of things. It's hard. It's very hard on it.
Right.
Because it's trying to filter those things out. And there's the balance. I mean, people that are in chronic pain, you want to do something so they're not in pain. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that's a symptom of something. So if all you do is cover it up, you got to figure out what's underneath all that, what's going on with it.
Exactly. And, the medications affect your gut health. And gut health is very important in, not only digesting your food, but in communicating with your brain. I mean,
it's where your bloodstream's getting all its nutrition from.
Right.
Yeah.
And, they're calling the gut the second brain now.
Right. Yeah, well, and what's the old garbage in, garbage out sort of thing, right? So, yeah, exactly. and so if that's what we have so many processed foods now, and a lot of it's for convenience, because honestly, eating healthy is fairly time consuming, because to go and pick up a TV dinner is a lot easier than starting with the fresh vegetables. You wash them and clean them and peel them and cut them and prepare them and do all the stuff. But if you can do that, you eat much healthier. It's much more satisfying, I find. But the problem is also when you eat the processed, that's been designed to be appealing. So salt and sugar and fat and those kind of things to make it taste good, which natural vegetables don't have. So if you've eaten enough M&Ms, the strawberry does not taste sweet to you anymore. If you don't, the strawberry's a treat, right? And so we throw ourselves off with that. We're going to have to take a short break. I want to pick this conversation up when we come back, and we'll talk about where you are now and what you're doing. A little hint, he's working in the stem cell world, and we're going to talk about how he got into that and what he's doing, how that's helping people. This is Building Solid Foundations. I'm talking to Barry Bevier, and we are on KCAA every Thursday and Sunday. Make sure you tune in, don't miss a show, or catch us on the streaming services afterwards. We're going to take a short break and be right back after this.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections. Hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio. Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are in the studio with Barry Bevier today, and we've talked with him through his journey of being from the farm to civil engineering and into health and wellness. We left off, we were talking a little bit about the natural approach to human health and physiology, and while Western medicine has its place and it's necessary, the old school nutrition and more holistic look at living with food being our medicine is very valuable and overlooked, but it's seeing a resurgence. Now, Barry, currently you're working with a stem cell nutrition company, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you got into the STEM tech world and what you've learned from it and how it's helping people.
Thank you. So in my search for wellness and education, I met a friend who had been involved on the corporate side of many different vitamin companies. And so we developed a friendship, and actually how we met was I introduced him, I met a guy here in San Diego that had developed a liquid vitamin. Okay. He had a great product. It was actually being endorsed by the Chargers. By Chargers football player, but he didn't have money and he didn't have a good marketing plan, and so I was working with him to help find money and how's he going to sell it, and we somehow got connected with these guys that were network marketing that were looking for a product. Okay, and so that's where I met Don Carnes. So Don and I became good friends, and we hadn't seen each other for a couple of years. This was a couple years after Linda had died, and called him up to say hi, and he said, let's get together. And I said, well, you're up in San Francisco, I'm in San Diego. He says, no, I'm in San Clemente. So he had joined STEM Tech, and they were the first company to do the research and develop and find that there's plant-based materials out there that release your stem cells. Okay. So it's your own stem cells. There's no stem cells in the product.
So you're not getting stem cell injections.
Right. No stem cell injections. It's your own stem cells that are induced by certain foods and plant-based materials you can eat. And so I went up and visited him, and he gave me some. I took it, like my other vitamins. It was a bottle, and didn't really feel much. But we kept communicating, and I started looking into stem cells, and I didn't know anything about stem cells at the time. And so this was 2012. So what you hear about stem cells today and what you heard 10 years ago was very different. Right. And so later that year, I tore my rotator cuff and got ready for surgery. And I called up and I says, hey, Don, do you think if I got on the products on a regular basis, it would help my healing? And he said, perhaps, get some. So I did. Started taking it a couple weeks before my surgery. And surgery went well, healing went well. Doctor primed me for 6 months of physical therapy and healing and a lot of pain. And make a long story short, I started physical therapy in 3 weeks instead of the predicted 8 weeks, and I was done after 12 weeks instead of 16. So in essence, the healing occurred twice as fast. Okay. I was 60 at the time. And that was kind of the only thing I was doing different from the habits of most people that would be having that surgery. And the surgeon who's here at Scripps, he said that of all the athletes and younger people he had worked with, that I healed the fastest he'd ever seen. Oh. So I'm in good health, but I'm not athletic, and I was 60 at the time. So I knew I was onto something. So I kept taking that, and then eventually got into the business. Okay.
All right, and so what kind of, besides helping with healing after surgeries, those kind of things, what other benefits do you get out of stem cell?
I think the biggest thing is it can slow the aging process. At least the way we do it, it can slow the aging process. When you're a newborn, you've got billions of stem cells circulating in your body. And think of a newborn and a child. They are growing rapidly.
They double in size every few weeks.
Yeah, and they get sick. They get better fast. They injure themselves, they heal fast. And so they've got, and that's because of the stem cells are there. So the stem cells are, the template cell, and they go any place in your body that needs rejuvenation. As you get older, and I like to draw a distinction between getting older and aging, because I think they're totally separate. As you get older, the amount of stem cells diminishes dramatically. By the time you're in your 20s and 30s, you've probably got about 10% of what you did as a youth. And by the time you're my age, we've got about 5% of the stem cells circulating in our body as a preteen does. So that transition occurs gradually, but when you're in your 30s and 40s, your stem cell population is just naturally decreasing.
Right.
And think of what happens in your 30s and 40s. That's when your hair starts to get gray, when you may start to need glasses, you start to see more wrinkles, you don't recover quite as fast from being a weekend warrior, you injure yourself, it takes longer to heal. So that's all related to stem cells. So by utilizing stem cell nutrition and enhancing your stem cell release on a daily basis, you can crank back that time clock.
I was saying the 30s and 40s also, while that's going on, is usually when we're at our busiest, at our most stressed. We usually have kids, we have the job, we're in the middle of the meat of the career where you're trying to move up. You're probably working, as you mentioned, in engineering, working 50 hours a week, and that's not unusual for a lot of people, sometimes more than that. Trying to balance the family and the kids and all the activities. We're not exercising like we should. We're probably eating out a lot, eating fast food because we don't have time to make a big fresh made meal and those kind of things.
Right. Between
the kids' activities and this and the work and everything else we got going on, while at the same time, as you're saying, we're diminishing those stem cells. It's a bad recipe.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Sort of a double whammy.
Double whammy, exactly. And then you're right. That's when we see a lot of aging. Interestingly, though, I see the biggest aging that I see is for the people I've been around seems to be kind of between 50 and 60 seems to be where the big difference is. And it's completely anecdotal, but here's how I judge it. I go every 10 years to my high school reunion. And 10 years after, they all look the same. They're just a little older, right? 20 year, about 75% of the people you could still recognize. They're a little older, the hair's a little thinner, but you still know who they are, right? Next one, people got wrinkles now. It's, people losing their hair, there's people turning gray, but I can see them. They're still. You go to the next one though, and it's like, I wouldn't have picked these people out if you'd have stood them next to me in the supermarket. I'd have never guessed.
And I have experienced exactly the same thing at class reunions. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so I think that there's that what happens in that 10-year block for whatever reason, and probably because there's probably virtually no stem cells left at that point.
Right. I mean, once you're in your 50s, it gets to be pretty low from a natural standpoint if you weren't doing something to enhance it. But there's other factors that are involved. I mean, water, drinking enough clean water is great. I would wager to say that most people are chronically dehydrated because they think drinking 2 or 3 16-ounce bottles of water a day is enough.
I would say that's true. I have and here I use these because it doesn't have a label on them, but I usually have a plastic water bottle. It's a 32-ounce water bottle. Like that. Yeah. But it's got a big logo on it, so I don't use it in the studio. And I will drink 3 to 4 of those a day. I'll drown one of those before I even leave the house in the morning at breakfast. Right.
Right.
Drink that down, and then I'll have a big smoothie of coconut water. That's a big one.
And that's a very good habit.
But the downside is, of course, it means you're in the restroom more often, which is a little bit inconvenient. But I have people saying, just drink that much water. It can't be good for you. Aren't you always in the bathroom? But thinking, I'm the only person my age I know, I think, that hasn't had a kidney stone yet.
Yeah.
And that, I don't want any of those kind of things happening to me. So, I figure the more water you have, keep everything flushed out.
Right. And it flushes out the toxins.
Keeps the blood moving. When I draw blood, they say, hey, you have great blood. It works really well. It comes right out. It's not too thick, but then it coagulates really good too.
Good example. I donate blood regularly. And the last time I went in, they usually have no problem getting my vein. The last time I went in, she was having a little problem, and they had to terminate the process. And she says, your veins they're normal. And I started to think back. The day before, I was outside, I was sweating a lot, I hadn't drank as much water as I normally do. I was dehydrated, and it really affects you.
Yeah, and most people also, they think they're hungry. They're really they're thirsty.
Yep.
We think that, so they go eat something snacky, which is usually salty, right? So eat something snacky, which exacerbates the problem. But really, if they would drink, one of these, or even half that much, right then, they'd be in a position where it would solve the problem. They wouldn't be hungry anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that people not drinking enough water is part of the obesity problem.
Oh,
because just like you said, you're actually thirsty. You think you're hungry, and you eat, and you don't need those calories.
And I think your food processes better when you drink more water too. It seems to, just go through better. So, and again, eating, if you eat fruits and vegetables, there's water in that, as opposed to dry things out of a box, sort of stuff. So I think all that ties together. We're going to take another break, and then I want to talk to you about, we're going to wrap this up talking about the book that you contributed to and some of your charity work you do. We're talking to Barry Bevier, and we are talking through his whole journey from civil engineering into health, and we're going to wrap up with what he's doing outside of that currently today. This is Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 951-378-5316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate Radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
Your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. I'm talking to Barry Bevier today. We've been really walking through the journey of his life. It's been fascinating. From the farm to civil engineering to Pakistan to Southern California, then a transition into health and wellness, getting involved in STEM tech, and now he's got a couple of ventures he's doing also, his latest ventures. One is he makes trips to Baja California and Belize. This is through his church, and he helps to build homes for less fortunate people. So talk to us a little bit about that, Barry. What got you involved in that, and what motivates you to do that?
I've just always liked helping people, and growing up on a farm, you learn how to do everything, plus my engineering career, construction-wise. And so it was kind of related to my wife's passing. My mom was in her 80s. She lived in Minnesota alone. She decided to come out here and live with me, and we were going to build a house for her. Well, in the meantime, my house was full of daughters, and we bought a travel trailer, and Mom was going to live in the travel trailer while we were building the house. Turns out she decided that Southern California wasn't for her, and she went to Michigan to live with my sister. Well, I sold the travel trailer to one of the people that runs Youth with a Mission.
Okay.
And so that was my first endeavor. They invited me to go down and do a house build. And so I did that, and I just, this is what I have to do. I'm going to be the Jimmy Carter, when I'm 90.
Right.
And then in 2019, I met some people at my church here who were connected to a lady that's now in Texas that grew up in Belize and is connected to this small church in Belize. And so 9 of us went down in 2019 and built our first house. It takes about $12,000 plus our travel expenses. So we raised the money and went down and did that. And then we were going to do it in 2020, but couldn't because of COVID. Right. And then last year, we raised money, but the people that went were either couldn't because of their own health or they were afraid of COVID. So I went down on my own. The pastor and I hired 3 local construction laborers, and we built another house in a week. It takes about a week. And
right.
It's not elaborate. It's basically an unfinished 2-car garage.
Right.
But for what they were living in, it's a castle.
It's better than living in a tar paper shack.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So I did. So when I was in high school years ago, I did a few projects like that. Went down on some construction projects in Baja, and I think that was helped form my love for construction. That I'd always been interested in it even as a kid, but that really to get my hands in there. It was the first chance I got to really do it with my hands and get in and do a project. And it's fun and it's fulfilling and it's very enjoyable. And that's a great thing to do. Now you contributed to a book. There's a series of a 13-book series. And you contributed to the 13 Steps to Riches, which was based on the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So tell us about your contribution to that book.
Okay, so there's a missing piece that we didn't get to that I'll tell you about. But in the past 3 or 4 years, I became very interested in brain health, especially memory loss. And so last year, I took a program with Dr. Daniel Amen, Amen Clinics, and Joseph McClendon III. So Amen is a psychiatrist that does not use pharmaceuticals in his practice for the most part.
Right.
And Joseph McClendon III is a neuropsychologist. So they put together a program called Brain Revolution. It's all about healthy habits to enhance your brain and prevent dementia.
Okay.
And so I took that program and got certified as a brain health trainer through Amen Clinics. And I'm sitting at home one evening and I'm thinking, how in the heck did a farm boy from Michigan become a brain health expert? And so I drew the connection. How did I meet Dr. Amen? How did I meet, how did I get there? And traced everybody, and I decided I'm going to call everybody and just thank them. Thank you for being who you are, and just your connection helped me get to where I am. Well, the first person I called was Eric Swanson here in San Diego, and I met Dr. Amen's wife at an event that Eric had put on. And so I explained why I was calling, and he said, Barry, have you heard about my book series? I said, no. He said, we've got 33 slots for authors, contributing authors. Each of the 13 books is one of the principles in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And he said, I've got 2 slots. Would you like one? It's pay to play, but it's yours if you'd like it. And I said, absolutely. So I became an author. And we just turned in our chapters for book 8. 2 weeks ago, book 7 was released on Amazon and is more bestseller in 6 or 8 categories 7 times over.
Great.
And until we get through the 13, every 2 months we're pumping out another book.
Okay.
And each book has a guest author. Sharon Lecter, a co-author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, is one of them. So it's very exciting.
Great.
Something that I hadn't anticipated doing, and it came through an expression of gratitude.
The opportunity, well, the interesting thing is the opportunities will present themselves if you just keep showing up and doing what you're supposed to do, right? And so two things that I see out of the conversation. One, sometimes the worst things that happen in our lives create the best things that happen in our lives. So your company laid you off and that led to a different path, right? That's opened up a lot of doors. And then secondly, just doing something as simple as calling people to thank them, and you get an opportunity out of it. So, that's the simple things that people don't understand about life. If anybody's interested in getting that book, though, you can get it on Amazon. Check it. It's called The 13 Steps to Riches. It's on Amazon. Go ahead and check that out. If you want to connect with Barry and ask him questions about anything we discussed today, about the STEM tech, brain health, the book, anything, or his charity work, you can get him at Barry at barrybevier.com. So that's BARRY at BARRYBEVIER.com. Barry at barrybevier.com. Or check him on LinkedIn. Go just Google Barry Bevier, BEVIER, on LinkedIn, and you can connect with him there. We're about out of time, Barry. I want to thank you for being on the show. Fascinating conversation. This is Building Solid Foundations. Don't forget to check us out every Thursday, every Sunday on KCAA, or check us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or the Android app. Look for the Building Solid Foundations channel. We have the Apple mobile app coming soon by the end of the year with that as well, or your favorite podcast platform. I'm your host, Steve Matley. This is Building Solid Foundations, and until we talk to you next week, go do something.
KCAA.
Hi, I'm food critic Alan Morgan, and I'm excited to tell you about Ray's Shanghai Bistro, located next to Redlands DMV on Lagonia in Redlands. Ray's Shanghai Bistro offers the largest and most delicious array of traditional